Yep.
They came out against Houston, and it was like, boy, these lights are brighter tonight than they were the other day. And I just wonder if did they get tight trying to win for Barnes, because they know if they don't, guys like us,
Yeah.
we'll be talking about it. People will be tweeting about it. It'll be on the message boards. Do you think they pressed a little bit?
Zakai said afterwards, I wanted to win this for him. We wanted everyone to see how good of a coach he is, right? He said that. Meshack said that. So I think there's some portion of that that's true. I do wonder also, those players know no one's ever gotten past this from Tennessee. Mm-hmm. So for themselves, for Barnes, they're pressing all together. But I agree with your thesis that Tennessee was pressing and that they got shook. Meshack missing the free throws. Chaz Lanier short on the three-pointer. Zakai has to get benched early on because of the way that he was playing. I mean, that's not a thing that's happened before.
No. That was a segment from the Sports Source Saturday Kickoff, which launched yesterday. Myself and Will West, much more relaxed show than this show. We cover a lot of stuff there. It's every Saturday at 11 a.m. Just yesterday, you would have heard a conversation about Barnes. You'd have heard a conversation about the Lady Vols. You heard 3 VFLs talking baseball. You had me and John Wilkerson and Mike Strange talking about favorite Vols ever. Where does Zakai Ziegler rank on that? It's a big show every Saturday, 11 a.m. Check it out, Sports Source Saturday Kickoff. All right, joined by Bob Hodge right here. Bob, you heard the start of that conversation, and we talked a little bit about this Monday on the radio with Tyler and Will. Tennessee just can't seem to break through the Final Four. You look at Tennessee, Missouri, BYU, and Creighton. Those are the 4 programs that everybody points to as these are the best 4 programs. How have none of them ever made a Final Four? In your opinion, could it be that this team gets to that level and they want to try so hard for Rick Barnes? They certainly say that. Are they pressing at that level because they looked spooked they looked shook compared to where they were against Kentucky? Or is it the fact that they just know the history? The team's never made it. So do we feel that, or is it just a fluke?
I think I look at last year. Go back to the Purdue game, Zach Edey. I thought that one was fluky, that you ran into a guy that was going to dominate the entire game. Mm-hmm. You know, I thought that the officiating, I don't ever blame officials most of the time, but I thought the officiating was a little odd. They let him get away with some stuff like standing in the lane for 17 seconds. Take that one aside, but then go back to 21, 22, 23, and now this year. The consistent thing in that is you do have a game where you just don't score. You don't score very well. And I think that comes from the fact that you do press a little bit. And every player that leaves this program talks about how much they love Rick Barnes. And every player, a few years ago, we threw this out. The players press for Rick Barnes, and some people said, no, that's not it. No.
They don't pay attention to that.
I think that is a big part of it. And part of it is because they like their coach. They want to win for their coach. And they realize when you get to the Sweet 16, when you get to the Elite 8, here we're at that level where things have kind of come unglued in the past for our coach. So by golly, we're going to take care of it. And I think, is it greater than 50% of it? I don't know, but I think you've got to put that in the mix.
It's really difficult to answer. In previous losses, I didn't think, well, they're too tight. They're dealing with the pressure of trying to get to a Final Four. I didn't think that last year. I thought it was Zach Edey and Purdue. I thought if Tennessee is in a region that doesn't include UConn or Purdue, Tennessee's going to the Final Four, but they were in a region with Purdue. I thought that they were too tight early on, part of what you heard from Will at the start of the segment. Houston is the worst team probably in the country to come out tight against because that team is going to put the clamps down, and then there was no chance to come back against that kind of team. But there's also the side of it that there's a strong case that Tennessee maximized and even overachieved from a roster standpoint what it's capable of when it lost some of the roster depth, and that's part of it. So then you need a little bit of luck to be able to go on a run deeper than what you're expected to. I thought the way Tennessee came out against Kentucky, that would have been a spot to be kind of tight. A team that's beaten you twice, the pressure of trying to get through Kentucky, it was the opposite. So I didn't expect that on Sunday, but I think part of it is just tough luck of where you were. There's no way to know this. If Tennessee had been the one in the West and had Florida's road and it's Maryland and Texas Tech to get to the Final Four, do you make it? There's no way to know. I'd rather try to take my shot against Texas Tech. You can play tight against Texas Tech and have a chance to win. You can't play tight against Houston and win.
I will now say, and just mark it down, I flipped last week and said, I think they're going to beat Houston. It's not analysis, but I get a gut feeling. I will never, even with a gun to my head, pick Tennessee to reach a Final Four. That's it.
We can
I'm
work
out.
on that.
I'm out. Yeah, you've got. Yeah. I'm out. I'm not going to do it. That doesn't mean I'm pulling against it. Just means I'm not going to go there. I just think they're jinxed at this point at the Final Four. Let me ask you a question about their coach. Let me flip this a little.
Okay.
Rick Barnes, you mentioned would they have gotten there if they had the 1 seed in the West? Mm-hmm. Okay. Rick Barnes has made 1 Final Four in his career. He was the 1 seed that year. Okay, he was the 1 seed. The last 3 years at Tennessee, he got you where you're supposed to go.
Correct.
You're a 4 seed, you go out in the Sweet 16. It's projected. You're a 2 seed each of the last 2 years. Both times you lose in the Elite Eight to a 1 seed. In his entire career, in his tournament history, 29 tournaments, I believe, I went back and looked. He has 1 win over a higher seeded team. In 2002, 6 seed Texas beat 3 seed Mississippi State. That is an unbelievable number. He's a tremendous coach. He's done remarkable things at Tennessee. He's a Hall of Famer. But he cannot pull an upset in the tournament, so he almost has to be a 1 seed. Give me an explanation for why a guy as good as Rick Barnes in all those tournaments has 1 time when he beat a better seed.
It's a large sample size. It's not just like it's just a 4 or 5 game stretch. Much to which Josh has already touched on, this is kind of hard to answer. But what I would dictate is the reason why the last couple of years, and Bob and Josh have already hit on it. You ran into Edey. They didn't know how to officiate him, some of the other issues. I don't know how a guy like Rick Barnes hasn't been able to adjust and get past some of those higher seeded teams. What I believe, though, in recent memory is simple. During the regular season, you can lose 1 game out of a 6-game stretch, and we're on the radio, or you guys are on here Sundays going, you've won 5 of your last 6, it looks good. In the NCAA tournament, you get 1 boo-boo and you're done. I just don't know if Rick Barnes is as streakiest as a coach, where you can build a 27-6, 25-8 resume, get into the NCAA tournament. It's, you're a 4 seed, you're a 3 seed. And also in today's age, we've only seen one team be able to successfully say, let's put defense first, we'll rely on somebody to hit a big shot, and that'll carry us over the level, and that was Virginia. I just think today, because of the lack of the scoring, and I think because of those 7-8 minute droughts, Duke got bit by it last night in the most crucial point of the game against
All these
Houston.
teams have them. Tennessee had fewer droughts than a lot of teams out there. People don't buy that because they watch Tennessee and they think, we always have these droughts.
Everybody does.
If you look at the numbers, you had fewer droughts than most teams out there, by far.
And I think because we're so hyper-focused on Tennessee, I think it's a combination of a lot of things.
Well,
Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, go to another sport. Johnny Majors, he and his teams tightened up against Alabama. That's just all you can say. They did. Phil Fulmer and his teams tightened up against Florida. When you had superior football teams, you lost games to teams that you were better than because you coached tight. Now,
Ohio State against Michigan this season. Best team in the country against Michigan.
So I think that plays a role in it as well. Does the coach in the big moment change something, or does his demeanor in the locker room give off something?
I can't get over the fact that you would think another team would just fall down on themselves and flub something, kick it out of bounds at the inopportune moment, and you would pull the upset. I'm a Rick Barnes fan, and what he's done is remarkable, but to have 1 upset by seed in all those tournaments, that's one of the most stunning stats in sports.
Yes, it is.
And I ask, what's the reason? There is no answer there. There is none, because they've lost to lesser teams, better teams.
They've lost in every way that you could.
Yeah, and it's not just they get tied in those games, but against higher seeded teams, 1 win in all those years. That's just fascinating to me. All right, when we come back, Bruce Pearl has now made 2 Final Fours at Auburn. How much do those 2 runs impact Rick Barnes' legacy at Tennessee? How much does it color how Vol fans see Rick Barnes when they see Bruce Pearl at another Final Four? Come on back on the Sports Source.